They left her hanging between two trees until the cowboy rode in and said, "Touch her again, and die." The wind howled across the barren plains like a warning from the earth itself, sweeping dust around the two dead trees standing alone at the edge of the frontier town of Copper Ridge. The townfolk called the trees the Forks of Judgment, though no lawman had ever placed that name upon them. It was a name born of fear, and of the terrible things desperate people did when no real justice lived among them. And that was exactly where they left Evelyn Carter. Her wrists, rubbed raw to bleeding, were tied wide apart between the two trunks. The rope dug deeper each time she fought to keep her weight lifted. Her toes strained desperately for the dirt that always crumbled beneath them. Her torn blue dress clung to her like a memory of the life she once had. Proper, gentle, peaceful. That life felt like decades ago now. Sweat and dust streaked her cheeks, and her breath came in shallow gasps. Every inhale felt like swallowing fire. Every exhale was a surrender she refused to give. Around her, the mob roared like animals drunk on their own righteousness. She stole from us. She lied to the whole town. Let her hang till her tongue dries. Teach her what happens to outsiders. Evelyn squeezed her eyes shut, praying just once more that someone, anyone, would step forward and say the truth. Someone must have seen what really happened. Someone must have known she didn't do what they claimed. But fear silences more tongues than lies ever could. There stood Sheriff Dugan, the man whose badge once represented order but now gleamed like a symbol of a tyrant. His gray beard twitched with every smug word he spoke. "She brought trouble to Copper Ridge," he shouted over the chaos. "And trouble earns punishment. Let her hang here till sundown. Let the crows judge her then." The crowd cheered, some throwing handfuls of dirt at her, some spitting, some laughing. Others, mostly women, looked away, faces twisted with guilt but too afraid to speak. Evelyn lifted her head weakly. Her throat burned so badly she could barely whisper, but still she tried. "Please, I didn't steal anything." Her voice cracked like a twig under a boot. Sheriff Dugan stepped forward, sneering. "You think your words matter now? You think anyone cares what you say?" He smacked her face lightly with his gloved hand. Not enough to break skin, but enough to humiliate her. Laughter erupted again. Evelyn's eyes watered, not from the sting, but from the hopelessness pressing against her ribs. She tried to hold herself up, but her legs trembled violently. Then, a distant thunder rolled over the dirt plains. But it wasn't thunder. It was hooves. Sharp, steady, growing louder. The mob paused. Heads turned. From the shimmering horizon, cutting through the swirls of dust, came a lone rider dressed in a long, dark coat. His hat was pulled low, shadowing the set jaw and the grim determination carved into his features. His horse, a towering black stallion, slowed to a powerful trot as the rider approached the crowd, unblinking, unafraid. Whispers spread like wildfire. "That's him. It can't be. No, he left these parts years ago. Is that Ryder Hale?" Evelyn lifted her head, barely conscious. She didn't recognize the man, but the others clearly did. Ryder Hale, the outlaw, the ghost story, the man whose legend carried more weight than any sheriff's badge ever had. Men who moments earlier screamed for blood suddenly lowered their eyes, stepping back instinctively as the rider brought his horse to a halt only a few feet from Evelyn. He didn't look at the crowd. He looked only at her, at the bruises on her wrists, at the torn dress, at her trembling legs, at her pain, her suffering, her innocence. Something cold and dangerous flickered in his eyes. Sheriff Dugan forced a laugh, trying to regain control. Well, Ryder Hale," he said loudly. "Didn't expect you to show your face here again. But unless you're here to watch justice be served, you best keep riding." Ryder slid off his horse slowly, deliberately. He walked toward Evelyn with the calm of a man who feared nothing and had buried enough demons to prove it. Dust swirled around his boots with every step. At arm's length from her, he finally spoke. His voice was deep, steady, and colder than the steel of a drawn gun. To her, silence. Confusion swept the crowd. A few men blinked in disbelief. Sheriff Dugan barked a harsh laugh. "You think you can ride in here and make demands? This woman's a thief." Ryder didn't look at him. He took one more step, standing so close to Evelyn she could feel the shade of his coat, shielding her from the sun. His jaw clenched. Then he lifted his head slightly, eyes still fixed on the ropes cutting into her skin. "I said." His voice dropped to a lethal growl. "Untie her," Dugan spat. "And if we don't?" Ryder didn't hesitate. He turned his head slowly, finally locking eyes with the sheriff, the mob, and every trembling coward who dared stand near him. He spoke each word like a promise carved in stone. "Touch her again." A beat of silence. "And die." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some backed away immediately. Some froze where they stood. Sheriff Dugan swallowed hard, a bead of sweat sliding down his temple, but he forced himself to stand tall. "You got no authority here," he snapped. "This town obeys my—" Ryder's hand moved faster than a striking rattlesnake. In a flash, his revolver was out, not pointed at the sheriff, but at the rope binding Evelyn's right wrist. Bang! The rope snapped clean apart. Evelyn flinched, gasping, nearly collapsing. Ryder caught her weight with his free arm without ever taking his eyes off the crowd. He raised the gun again. The mob stumbled back like frightened cattle. Sheriff Dugan froze, his face drained of color. Ryder's voice sliced through the silence one last time. "Anyone else want to try?" No one moved. No one,